What's up, e-bike fans? In this episode of e-bike news, we're going to be talking about a new line of bikes coming out by a brand new company that is being launched out of Portland, Oregon, that I've never seen before or heard anything about. And typically when I hear about new bikes or new lines, it kind of like interests me, and I'm thinking, well, is this something worth sharing, or is it just another bike that's coming in that's like made out of a mold like everybody else is? But something about this bike really caught my eye. New motor, new design, and kind of a new concept, and something I want to just go ahead and talk about throughout this video. So let's get started in this new segment. Alright guys, before we get started here, if you like these type of videos, please make sure to give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, and feel free to comment along the way. That really helps with getting these videos out there and gaining momentum to get the other e-bike community informed that these videos are coming out. Now, let's get started with what we're here to talk about. A new bike with a new motor that's hitting the market. Now, this new Portland, Oregon company came out with I guess it was kind of like a press release that talked about them launching their 4 new bikes that was available for pre-order 2 days ago. Nobody's really seen these bikes around, or I haven't seen it on the internet. In fact, I did some searches for it, and it's really difficult to find other than off their own website. So this company is called Vvolt, and what's really interesting is, I'm just going to go ahead and come out with the most, I guess, interesting thing about it is that if you take a look at this picture here, you will see that there is a brand name hidden behind this kind of spoke here that says Acer. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar or really in the tech industry or tech world, you probably have seen Acer computers somewhere around, and they are the 6th largest computer manufacturer out there. Now, they're getting into the motor market, and that's something that really just was completely intrigued me, first of all. And these bike lines, now you're going to take a look at these bikes and they're saying, well, they kind of look the same as a lot of the others and very close to like the Rad Mission. But let's take a look a little closer at each one of these bikes that they're coming out with, and maybe you might be as fascinated by what they're coming out with as I am. So first of all, here's the article. I'll have a link in the description below about this company called Vvolt, and they're launching their new line. And again, this is put out 2 days ago on June 3rd, where they're actually now available for pre-order if you go to their website. And we're going to go ahead and take a look at that. But this article here has a little bit about the history of the company, but most of all, they mentioned here, which like I said really caught my eyes, that these bikes are powered by Acer, the 6th largest computer company in the world, and Vvolt is the first brand in the US to use Acer components. This is a Taiwanese company, so these bikes are actually being manufactured in Taiwan, and they're going to be shipped out to us, as you order them. I don't know what the time frame is exactly at this moment. I think it's about 2 months, but they said I think it's already on the water for a lot of them. So that's about a 2-month period that we're looking at, depending, the docks and customs and getting through there. The cool thing is that they're actually making 2 lines or 2 types of main bikes. One is going to be a rear hub, or 2 of them are going to be rear hub motors, and the other is going to be 2 mid-drive motors. The thing is, they are not going with anything other than belt-driven drives, and so there's no chains on these bikes. That's another thing that's really interesting about them. So like I said, we're going to go ahead and talk a little bit more about them, and let's go ahead and get down to more of the pricing so that you guys get an idea of what kind of bikes they're coming out with. So these are the top 4 bikes. The Alpha, the Alpha S. The Alpha and the Alpha S are pretty much exactly the same, except for the Alpha S is a step-through model. And now they're both very similar to like the Rad Mission style bikes, where there's only 1 gear in the back, and the hub motor just pushes you along with that 1 gearing. And so, this may not be the best type of bike for a lot of hilly areas, but they say it's a pretty powerful motor that can pull you up and down those hills very easily. So that's not so much of an issue, I think, as more people might be thinking about. Okay, so we also have the Proxima and the Sirius bikes. Now the Sirius is kind of like the radio station that's out there, the satellite radio station. That's how it's spelled. So you have these 2 other bikes that are actually mid-drive bikes, and it's very unclear, but I do believe this MPF drive motor, 250 watt nominal with a 500 watt max power, is also an Acer branded or made motor, from what I can tell, since when I look at the website, it actually says the motor is actually made by the Acer company. So it's really interesting that they're coming out with these motors, and this company has decided to put a lot of their the credibility on the line would come out something that's so brand new that's on the market. So let's see what else we have here. These prices for the Alpha and Alpha S, again, they're almost the same bike, just the frame design, step through and a step over. We have a $13.99 price point for these two here. And with the Proxima and the Sirius, these two bikes are not necessarily similar, but the drivetrain is the same. They're using the same motor on both of these here. They're also using the CVT and Vvolt continuous variable transmission gear hub on them. So you have this really cool range of gearing that you can just kind of flow your way through without having to worry about a derailleur or a chain moving back and forth. Very clean, very quiet. It's going to be moving through that. So you have these two bikes that are out there. The main difference between these two is the Sirius actually has a wider tire, from my understanding, and also you can see here it also has a front suspension. So it's a little more aggressive with the off-roading style marketing that they're doing with that there. But as we look more into it, let's go ahead and get some more details about this by going to the Vvolt website. So let's move this over and bring them on here. Starting with the 4 products, you can get a better closer look at these. They have different colors available, white and gray, for both the Alpha bikes. And then on the Proxima, you have the orange, the white, and then they also, I think this is a blue color. And the Sirius actually has a white as well, a green, and I believe that's also another bluish type color. But these are the 4 different products that they have. Like I said, they kind of look like bikes that you might see elsewhere. I read that they're also using students from the university for design that are into the designing, and they might be engineering type students, but you get these type of I guess ideas from them, and they're taking ideas that work and putting it together into their bikes and implementing into them. Now these are all also class 1 bikes, which means they all don't have throttles. So just keep that in mind. This is another thing that's not on this bike here. They have a price point that is very low, but it's just a different kind of I guess concept that they're moving through. Their goals are a little different than other companies out there, other than that they just want to build a better e-bike out there. So that's the approach that they're beginning to take. So let's go ahead and go one by one into each of these bikes to see what we have here. And let's go with the first one here is the Alpha Step Through. And as we look through here, these are the different features that are on here. We have a 350 watt motor and 44 to 46 pounds, a 60-mile range on a single charge, and class 1 controller. That means that there's no throttle on it. Offers up to 20 miles per hour. We have 5 levels of assistance, Bluetooth pairing. So there is a phone app that's going to be available on this too, that you can adjust different levels of your bike, your assistance, and even has a USB outlet on top of that. Some of the basics of the stuff, but more also they're putting some technology behind it. So this little controller here that you have for your pedal assist is very probably simplistic. I do not see any pictures of the apps on their website at this point in time, but that's what we have here with the step through. And then of course we also have the other Alpha, which is the step over. Again, same specs as the original. This is what we have it looking like, and you have your different colors. This is the display. It's very simple. Again, because of the Bluetooth pairing, that's probably one of the reasons why they leave this a lot less visible as against like the bigger type of displays that are out there. And here we go, a close-up picture of the Acer motor with the carbon belt drive on it. And yeah, it's just a sweet looking bike on there. You have actually also hydraulic brakes. They're not actually with mechanical. With the lower price point, you are actually getting better brakes than a lot of bikes in that price point range. This is not a non-integrated light in the back there, and in the front as well. This is a front light there. So we have this bike now put together the way that this is. And how does this compare with other bikes out there? So when I wanted to get into looking at the comparison on this, I did one of my spreadsheets again and laid it out here. So these are the Alpha and the Alpha S, the two that we just looked at. There's only one gear on it. You have your cadence sensor on that. Doesn't say exactly what kind of sensor it is, but it would have mentioned torque, I believe. But because this is a rear hub motor, they typically don't put a torque sensor on there. It would be a lot higher price point to get a torque on there. Now you have a top speed of 20 miles an hour. These are the different weights, 44. There are two different sizes. So the smaller size is a 44-pound bike, whereas the larger bike is a 46-pounder. Now, It's a 27.5 by 2.5 inch tire. Now they are mentioning on the website that it's a maximum of 2.5 inch. I don't really know what that means. I don't care what the maximum is per se, as what does it come with. So hopefully that max 2.5 inches also what comes with the bike. Like I said, it's not thrill. Now there's no throttle available on any of these bikes here. They do have a standover height measurement of 30 for the smaller bike and 32 inch for the bigger one. And of course the step through is a lot lower. They say also that you have a height range of, I believe it's something as low as 5'2" for someone that can ride one of these bikes. So we have something that's perfect for the smaller size or shorter person out there. Now the voltages, there's a reason why there's a question mark, is because they never mention on the website what voltage the battery has. But I believe, doing just math, because I do find out through the website and also through other places on that article, that it has a 375 watt hour capacity and a 10.4 amp hour. I'm sorry, 10.4 amp hour capacity and a 375 watt hour measurement. With them claiming up to 60 miles, that, unless this is a super efficient bike, I'm gonna have to say that that's gonna be pushing it, just based on what I've seen on any other bikes that are out there with similar type of ratings, especially with only a 10.4 amp hour size battery. Again, they both have hydraulic brakes on them with 160 millimeter rotors. In fact, all four of the bikes have the same rotors. All four of the bikes also have the same battery, and it's all integrated but removable in the bike as well, that you can take them off. And only one of them has a front suspension. Again, this is the high-end Sirius at $26.99. It has 100 millimeters, and it is an air suspension fork as well. So how does that compare with other bikes? Because the best way to know whether a bike is giving you a good value is to compare something that's out there that has good value. So if we take away these two, let's hide these columns, and let's just put this up against the Rad Mission. This is one of the first bikes that really took off because it has a Rad name on it, but they also, really targeted a lower price bike for someone who just loves to ride and get that extra boost and assistance on it and the feel of a normal bike, which is what you're going to get with these bikes here. So we started at $10.99 price point. That is currently what the price is at for the Rad Mission. And what first thing we notice right off the bat is that it actually has a 500 watt nominal motor according to Rad Mission. Now, there is no indication to know what the peak power on this motor is for Rad. If anybody happens to know that, please give a comment below on what the peak on the Rad Mission is. But based on math, figuring out what the amp controller is, this was basically comes off the Electric Bike Review website. They said there was an 11 amp controller on it with a 48 volt battery. So if you multiply that to, you're basically coming out with a potential of a 528 watt maximum. Because of these two multiplied together, it seems as though that's going to be the maximum that the motor is actually going to be getting fed. So I don't know. When they say it's 500 watt nominal, they don't mention a max. That's kind of not helping to know what else we're going to be able to get out of the Rad Mission as far as power goes. And the same thing goes for the Acer. There's a 350 watt nominal rear hub. This is the Acer motor that I had a picture of, but it doesn't tell us what the max is on these. It's a nominal. So, but if you do, again, potentially we don't know the controller amperage. So until we can get that, if it's a 10 amp, then maybe it might have 360 max, but I'm guessing it's probably going to be up to 11 amps. But again, with this 60-mile range, maybe not. Maybe it's going to actually limit how much amperage is going out, so it can get this kind of range off of a battery that's only, this size or this amount of watt hours that are coming out of it. So again, I'm not real sure. If we're figuring out, maybe it's probably about a 10 amp, could be a little 10.5. It's a little difficult. Usually the watt hours are going to be calculated both, but we don't have the voltage. So that's something that we're kind of guessing at on where everything's coming through on what we're going to get here. But needless to say, if it can do 60 and the reviews start coming out where they'll be able to do it, I'm interested to see. Because I mean, the websites or the YouTube videos from Electric Bike Report, those guys, they actually run the bikes 4 or 5 hours to get to the mileage to see how far it really can actually go. I'm very curious to see if those guys get their hands on this bike to see what kind of real life mileage that they're going to be getting off of this. So that's the Alpha and the Alpha S. The next thing that we have is let's bring up the Proxima. And this bike here is, again, the first mid-drive Acer motor. And there is no Acer branding that I saw directly put on here. But when we go lower on the website, I believe there it says that, oh here, motor systems powered by Acer. So I'm guessing that's what it means, is that basically that's going to be the maker of this mid-drive motor that's on this Vvolt bike, which is pretty darn cool to think about it. The also thing that you're going to get as a part of an efficiency aspect of is that you have the Vvolt CVT hub. Continuous variable transmission, which means it's all built into the hub itself. There is no actual outside chain or derailleur moving around. It uses like these ball rolling to change your gearing ratios within the bike itself. Very cool concept that comes out of that. The Da Vinci shifter. So basically you just kind of twist it, and then this hill will change as a view where the rider is going to be showing it, you know, whether you went up a hill or a flat land. I guess this kind of thing just flattens out while you're shifting. So, and it's so smooth because it's basically just balls that are rolling to the ratios that are changing. And that gives you not only a quieter shift, but because there's no chain, but it also gives you just a smoother ride all in all. And with the motor right here in the mid drive, you're going to have the ability for the motor to maximize its efficiency because of the gearing being used at the same time. So this is, you know, I mean, I wouldn't put it past this being able to probably hit 60 miles on a charge, yet the battery is quite small. So I just would have to say we gotta wait till some people can test this out. I mean, if I ever get my hands on one of this, that's one thing I think I will try to do, is find a loop that's like 20 miles around in a loop and go around, see if I can do 3 times around with it. Again, this bike, all the bikes come with hydraulic brakes. Haven't heard of this brand before called Radius, but I'm gonna guess it's gonna be as good or feel comfortable as any other hydraulic brakes that are going to be out there. It sounds like these guys have been doing a lot of testing on it. As you can see, this small little computer controller here tells you your pedal assist that's going up and down. The Alpha bikes, I believe, must be, again, the cadence sensors, where they are definitely claiming that this mid-drive has a torque sensor in it. So it will take that into consideration as far as knowing how hard you're pedaling to put out the power levels that you're going to be. The harder you pedal, the more power gets put out, basically. It talks about the 40mm tires that are on here too. So these street tires are going to also give you more efficiency as far as your route. It's not necessarily going to be for the off-road style riding that's going to come out of that, but it's going to be a pretty awesome bike that's going to be out there. Looks less like an e-bike and more like a regular bike, whereas, you know, you have your Rad Mission, where definitely it's very identifiable as an e-bike because of the battery hump that's here. But, you know, with a battery hump that's here is because it's also a larger battery. So you have to, you know, there's some trade-offs for everything over the other, what you're coming out with there. Also, keep in mind the Rad Mission also uses a regular standard type chain. Again, both bikes, the Alpha and this bike, don't have any gearing. But when you're looking at another carbon belt driven bike here with the Vvolt hub that's in the back, that's just going to be just so much fun. It's going to be a great fast bike to get around in. Again, 20 mile per hour max that's being put out on this too. We also have the information on let's bring this back up here, the torque that's coming from this bike here. So we have 80 Newton meters of torque coming out of the mid-drive bikes, where it's only 45 Newton meters of torque from the Alpha bikes versus the Rad Mission with 50 Newton meters. You know, you're going to get a little more because of the higher voltage and amperage that's being put together by the controller combined together. So that's going to be guessing why you're going to be seeing a higher amount here. But of course, that's going to affect your mileage, even though you have a bigger battery. It's just pulling more power. Like I said, there might be something about these bikes that are coming out that are going to be more efficient. And I'm really eager to see if people are saying that this is the new way to make bikes just more efficient for longer distancing. That'll be pretty cool to see. All right, so let's get on to the last bike here, the Sirius one. And this is the bike that actually makes me just super excited to ever get a chance to put it, I guess let's put it at one of the top of my list as bikes that I'd like to try one day. And this bike here has the... So let's move it from here. Let's bring up the Sirius. The front suspension that's going to be the first part. It also has wider tires, and that's going to make it a little softer on the ride here. They actually are designing this so that you can do on and off-road riding with it. This with air shocks, looks like it does have the lockouts on it. Nothing specifically being said about it. So this company's not really descriptive with the details like other bikes or other companies that we're seeing out there. I mean, they give you some of the information that you need here with your dimensions, but as far as some of the deeper specs, we're not really quite getting that. Clearance for 2.4-inch tires. Like, doesn't actually talk about the tires here. You know, so we have just those type of things that we're just going to have to wait till these bikes hit the road and see what happens. One of my disappointments is that this bike here, their standover height is at the lowest point 31.6, and this is a smaller bike, and I'm at you know, they're starting at the recommended heights at 5'8", and that's for all of their bikes. All of these, I mean, except for the step through, all of their step over bikes are at 5'8" starting height. So the only one that's going to be available for anybody like myself that's 5'5", 5'6", or 5'7", I'm going to have to go with a step through model, which is fine. But why didn't they make the mid drives with the step through model? That's kind of, I'm looking for a really great mid drive bike with a step through on it, with a NVOLO hub. I mean, torque sensor. This would be the perfect sweet bike to really get going on. I mean, the only thing that, you know, I'm more favorable for the fat tire, but when I'm talking about something that's going to be efficiency for speed, this is going to be a bike that's pretty darn cool. Now, it does come with rack mount points and fender points, but those are, I believe, additional accessories. As we go to the bottom of each of these pages, I think they actually have a list of them, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, by the way, this is what the battery looks like integrated in that area. Very nice design. Looks like this might be an on and off switch, or it could be a plug port. I'm not real sure, but it is removable. Possibly being able to, it doesn't say if you can charge it off the bike, but I'm going to guess you probably could. You know, we'll see. The 27.5-inch tires, you know, instead of a 29, but it's going to be a little wider as well. I just wish that they had the step through for these. I mean, I can actually take a bike this size for that's 5'8", because I need, or I really like full pedal extension. I really want to have a good efficient ride when I'm doing it. The only problem is when I come to stops, this bar will be definitely uncomfortable, and you know, there's no easy way of feeling that I'm going to be able to get on and off the bike pretty easily when it being that tall. But my riding will be fantastic. I mean, my current bike was the Blackbird. It is a little taller. When I'm on it, I don't feel the height. It's just when I stop and got to get on and off, you know, I do feel it, and it can be a little uncomfortable to have there. So that becomes where we're talking about these bikes that are out here. What's really another thing I want to say about these type of bikes that are beginning to get launched out there. We have, you know, even the KBO that was showcased on Kyle from Bolton E-Bikes. He talked about this bike. This is a 36-pound bike only. And again, it has an integrated battery that's inside here, and it's single speed. And these bikes are now becoming more and more popular, or it looks like people are beginning to target the more style fast commuter riders. The cool thing again about this type of bike is some of the more recent articles I've been reading. There is a Wall Street Journal article that just came out that talks about electric bikes and cyclists competing, or basically just having a lot of controversy of electric bikes being now opened up to being ridden on these trails. And this is what's happening, is that the trails are getting really crowded, and the traditional bicyclists are really upset at the way that there's so many inexperienced, or I mean, I guess just their trails are getting crowded, you know, and you know, the potential for accidents are happening, and they're claiming that the electric bike riders are going really, really fast, and that you're just zooming around without any consideration. And likewise, in this article, it's the other way around, where the e-bikers are saying that bicyclists are actually, you know, being rude and fast. And there's just really, I guess the two sides are drawing lines as far as making things not very comfortable on the riding. Well, these bikes that are coming out, some of the different, what was interesting on this article here is that they were talking about Hermosa Beach in this article. They've made it on their, it is illegal to ride motorized devices with the motor on while on the path. I guess it's popular called the Strand, a path called the Strand. And there's police that are actually watching to see if you have your motors on. So if you want to ride your e-bike on this trail here, you can do it, but you have to shut your motor off. And the other thing is that there's paths with 8-mile-an-hour speed limits. So it makes it just for a really, really more safer environment when you have speeds that are lower. But the thing is, e-bikes are heavy. So if you make a lighter bike like this that still has a motor and capable to go up to 20 when you need to, but on the trails where you can still enjoy a trail that has a limitation, who knows? This might be something that's new coming up, where they're going to be talking about, bringing down your speeds, for one, with actual people monitoring it. But the other thing is that being able to ride your bike, because it's light enough, on these trails with your motor off and enjoying it just like a regular bike. If I were to take my fat bike, I've tried riding that fat bike around. It's a 67 with some of the accessories, a 70-pound bike. On even the smallest incline is very, very difficult to keep on riding. And of course, then I want to inflate my tires a little bit more just to get more or less friction on it. So bikes like these, I think, are really going to have a good place in environments where you have trails that might have restrictions, or people are going for the leisurely ride, but when they get off the trail and they need a little more speed to be safer on the roads to keep up with traffic, then they can do it. And like I said, this would be an awesome bike. I think, honestly, we're going to probably start to see more and more of these. The other thing is look at the design. Some people just don't want to look like they're riding an e-bike. Of course, you can't hide that there's a big motor here, but when you're quiet and you're just coming around and your gearing is going to keep you up to speed with everybody else at a nice pace, why not? This is an option that you can look at. And to be honest, at $26.99, that's not a bad price for everything you're getting, especially with the CVT hub and all the parts that you're seeing on these bikes here. So I'd love to hear what your thoughts are. Do you think these bikes are going to be taken off? Is this a bike that might pique your interest in something that you might want to ride? Not everybody's into the fat tire look. And what type of bike would you be interested in seeing? Those of you who ride Rad Missions, the Rad Mission is a fantastic bike, which is why I brought it up, as an example here, for something that is only $10.99 or $1,100, and you get the same type of equipment that's out there. This is an awesome bike that's already, been doing very well on its own. It's a great trail and street bike. Once it only has one gear, and there's been times when I only ride my bike in one gear because the motor is so powerful. I don't have to work my way through other gears. It's just great. So you have this. Now, of course, this bike does have a throttle. So I'm just one of those that really likes to have a throttle as well. But when you have a CVT gearing and you're at a stop, you can shift down without a problem because you'll start right at the beginning because the balls just shift over and you're in the lower gear. Another great reason that I think that's a great transmission to have on a bike like this. But like I said, love to hear your thoughts. Don't forget to go ahead and like and subscribe again. If you like this type of comments, we'll be looking at other bikes and other things that are happening in the e-bike world. And don't want to forget to mention that we still have if you actually have a Lectric XP 1.0 or 2.0 and you want a more comfortable ride, we have the suspension seat post by Zoom for only $29.95. That includes shipping and tax. And I also include a little lobster claw key for your electric key so that you have a place to clip it when you unplug it. And I also include the tool to get that part of the post attached to it's a 5mm Allen wrench. Also comes all included. I don't think anybody else who's selling these posts includes that tool. So we have all that given to you, shipping, handling, all in one package, $29.95 on the ebikeproducts.com/shop, or just go to ebikeproducts.com and hit the shop link and it'll take you to that where you can order those as well. And again, for those of you who ordered any of our bicycle phone holder mounts, we will be relaunching that. We found the solution for it, coming with some additional add-ons for no additional price. That'll be coming in a few weeks soon. And thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you liked it, and I'll see you guys in the next video.